Well, we don't know. That's why I was being fair. The argument
wait,
was,
so
are
you're
there an
saying that you don't know.
organization?
So the argument is that you actually don't know, like, specifically, like, who Donald Trump is defining as a domestic terrorist. Because, like,
No,
you
I
told
do
me.
know.
Oh,
I
then
do
who?
know.
Then who? Who? Give me a name.
Organizations
Like what
who are
organizations?
calling themselves Antifa.
What? Okay, like Rose City Antifa?
Which you are not a part of any of them, so
Okay,
you're
Richard,
okay, Dean.
you just said that you do know who Donald Trump is labeling as terrorists. I asked you,
Yeah.
okay, who is he labeling as terrorists? And then you responded
Organized
by saying
Antifa.
organizations that are calling themselves Antifa. Okay, Rose City Antifa. Are they an organization that are calling themselves Antifa?
Well, they're probably being investigated right now.
Answer my question. Are they an organization that labels themselves as Antifa?
Yes.
Okay, so then following from your logic, you know that they're terrorists. Richard, let me ask you a question. So you support Trump. How do you feel about him labeling people that are anti-fascists as terrorists?
I'm sure some of them are.
No, you said like everybody that is anti-fascist is a terrorist.
Well, if you're part of the organization that wears the mask,
So Antifa is not an organization. It's just a political movement. It's just like saying that you're against fascism.
some people don't think that.
Some people don't think that. Well, okay.
Yeah, some people
they're wrong.
identify as Antifa differently.
Okay, can you give me?
I don't
an
know. You
example?
ask them. Yeah, well, I mean, you're a pretty well-adjusted person, but there's a group of people who have similar beliefs. They wear a mask. They mess things up. They protest.
People that
they
mess
join
things up that wear
protest
masks.
violence.
Are you talking about ICE?
No, I'm
Ooh.
portraying a very recognizable group of people. It's not ICE.
Okay, so they're called Antifa. Is that what you're saying? See, so like Donald
Yeah.
Trump has been doing the same thing.
Well,
where
I don't
like,
think-
Antifa
I don't think he's
are
referring
domestic
to you.
terrorists. Wait, but,
Yeah, well, I
I'm
don't think he's referring
Antifa.
to you.
But I'm Antifa.
I don't think you are.
No, I am Antifa. I'm anti-fascist.
All right. Well, have you
Are you-
firebombed the building?
Wait, I have a question. You don't need to firebomb a building to think that fascism is
Well,
bad.
he's referring to people who are like that.
Okay, no, he said Antifa. He's not referring to people that are like that. Why are you playing mental gymnastics for him?
Well, if I call myself a refugee, is he going to deport me? No, because I'm not a refugee, right?
Okay, so then
So
you're
he's
saying.
not gonna-
So then what? Okay, I want
Yeah.
you to define Antifa.
Yeah, Antifa are okay, so there's two definitions of Antifa, right? There are the people who are like you, who say, oh yeah, I'm against fascism. Okay, that's cool. But then there's another group of people who feel like they have to be violent, they have to protest, they have to fight, and they
So
take it out on
you're
innocent
not
people.
defining
Those people
Antifa.
are-
I'm just asking you to define Antifa.
There's two definitions for Antifa.
Okay, give me like a clear definition of Antifa.
Well, it's pretty vague. So do you want Trump's definition or do you want my like?
Donald Trump doesn't think it's vague because he defined this
Well, it's
certain
vague
word
because
as
you
a
are calling
definite
yourself
domestic
Antifa.
terrorist group.
It's vague because you're calling yourself Antifa when you don't fit the profile of Trump's definition of Antifa. That's why
So
it's vague.
how do you know what Donald Trump's definition of Antifa is?
Well, he's referring specifically to the people who protested during 2020, who destroyed a lot of businesses.
So how do you know what his definition of Antifa is?
Well, is he arresting you?
So he's not arresting me?
Are you worried, or are you worried at all that he's going to arrest you?
I mean, I could definitely see a little bit of pushback.
I don't think
from
you
the
are.
government, potentially.
I think you
But
know
this
implicitly
isn't
that you are
answering
not
my
Antifa
question.
that he's arresting.
How do you know what Trump's definition of Antifa is?
Because he describes Antifa
Okay.
as violent. Are you violent?
Well, I mean, he describes like Democrats as hateful. Does this mean that like his definition of Democrat includes hate?
Yeah.
Oh, do you agree with
But
that?
that doesn't mean all Democrats are hateful.
Wait, so
It
does
just
that mean
means
that
some Democrats
do you
are.
think that I'm hateful?
No, you're actually a nice guy.
Okay, so then you'd argue that according to Donald Trump's definition of what a Democrat is, I'm not a Democrat?
You're not a hateful Democrat.
Oh, but no, because remember, you just told me that I'm not Antifa because Donald Trump defines Antifa as like quote unquote violent, and meaning that in accordance with his definition, I'm not Antifa. Okay, well, he also defines like Democrats as hateful. You just agreed to that, meaning according to Trump, I'm not a Democrat. But isn't that like absurd to say? Oh,
No,
obviously
according
I'm a
to Trump, you're
Democrat
not a hateful
because
Democrat.
because I vote for blue, right? Meaning I'm obviously also like Antifa because I'm against fascism.
Well, you're not the Antifa that he's referring to, and you know that.
Well, how do you know who he is referring to? Like,
Dean,
what is the
Dean, do you
organization?
go- do you
Because
go
he
to bed
refers,
every night?
he refers. One
Yeah.
moment. He refers to an actual organization. I have a question. Where's
Yeah.
this organization's like headquarters at?
Well, there's like the Antifa of like Portland. There's like the Antifa of Denver. Like there's chapters of Antifa.
Oh, okay. So
They
you're
call
saying like
themselves-
there's like very clear organizations, like actual organizations that he's labeling as domestic terrorists.
they have Twitter accounts.
Can you like point me towards like one of these actual organizations that he's labeling as terrorists?
Yeah, the Antifa of Portland. That's one.
And Antifa of Portland. Okay. What do I need to look up to find them?
Twitter.
Okay, what do I look up on Twitter?
Antifa Portland.
Just onx.com?
Yeah,
Okay, I could do that right now. Also, Richard, you definitely have been up here before, right? You could just admit it.
I have not.
No, you have. I definitely remember you.
I've talked to Parker. Are you Parker?
No, I'm Dean. I'm saying that I've talked to you.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Parker.
So I just looked up Antifa Portland on Twitter. Like, I'm not
Rose
really
City
finding
Antifa.
anything.
Sorry, Rose City Antifa. RCA.
So how do I spell that?
RCA.
So I just
Rose
type in
City Antifa.
RCA.
Yeah, Rose City Antifa.
Okay, so I'm typing it. So how do I spell Rose City? What are you saying? R-O-E,
Rose
R-O-W?
as in like the flower.
Okay, Rose City
Yeah.
Antifa. Okay. Okay, well, so this is an account with 41,000 followers, right? And these are domestic terrorists?
Well, there's a lot of these. You can
Okay.
find them anywhere.
But like if you're in Rose City Antifa, you're a domestic terrorist.
Possibly.
No, not
I don't wanna
possibly.
call everybody
No,
a
I asked you for like a definite like terrorist organization that he's talking about.
Well, you asked
and you
for
said
an
that there
organization
were like legitimate Antifa organizations that he's labeling as terrorists. So then I asked you for an example, and you gave me Rose City Antifa. See, like I'm looking at Rose City Antifa right now, and like the first thing that I see is call to action happening now. Go to PSU, bring a tent and a friend. We're gonna advocate for Palestine. So I didn't know that like protesting in support of Palestine made you a literal domestic terrorist.
Well, the argument was, are there an organization called Antifa? And I just named one with 40,000 people.
No, so that was actually not what the argument was. The question was, can you point me towards one of these Antifa organizations that he's labeling and defining as a domestic terrorist organization?
Well, there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are violent. So
Okay, so point me
those are
towards
the
like one
Antifa that we're
specific
talking about.
organization. Point me towards one specific organization that he's labeling as terrorists. Do it.
Well, the important thing is that you are not a part of that organization.
Well, I
right?
mean, it just sounds like you're just trying to find
No,
a way
you're
to
not
ignore
a
my
part of the
question.
problem.
So this really kind
Are
of
you a
sounds
part
like a
of any
deflection.
Antifa organizations?
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like you're not willing to answer my question because you know that you can't name one.
No, the problem is that the topic is not what you're talking about. The topic is, are you a part of the Antifa that Donald Trump refers to? And you are not, because you are not part of any organizations.
Okay, so you are trying to completely change the question. So I'll tell you the way
I'm
that we
not.
got
No,
here.
the topic was ding.
Richard, you absolutely are deflecting. That's a fact, sir. Right? So I brought up how like Donald Trump is labeling people that like are against fascism as terrorists. Then you were like, no, like he's like clearly operating under his own definition of like violent people. Then I was like, well, I mean, he's like referring to like an organization. Can you point me towards one of these very specific Antifa organizations that he's very clearly labeling as domestic terrorists? Right? And like that's a question that I've continued to ask you here, and you don't have an answer. So now you're just trying to avoid, ignore, and deflect. So without an
I don't
avoidance,
think he
without you
labeled
ignoring
a
me,
specific
and without you
organization.
like deflecting, can you please give me like a specific organization that he's labeling as domestic terrorists?
Well, he hasn't revealed that list yet.
Wait, so you don't know who he's actually calling terrorists?
Well, he's calling the organizations the terrorist
Okay,
organizations.
which organizations?
Well, would you agree that?
No. One
like,
second. Which
Al-Qaeda is a
organizations?
terrorist organization. Can you name all the cells? Like, what kind of argument is that?
So I'm asking you to
Are they not a terrorist group if you can't name all the cells?
But you'd be able to specifically point towards like an Al-Qaeda terrorist group. You'd be able to specifically point towards like specific individuals that are a part of Al-Qaeda. You'd be able to specifically point towards historical leaders of Al-Qaeda. Or so I'm just asking you to do the same thing for this Antifa organization. Can you point me towards like very specific leaders of this Antifa organization? Can you point me towards like even just one specific sect or organization, right, of this Antifa terrorist organization? And you could do all of those things.
And you just searched it
for
yourself.
Antifa. Okay, so you are defending that Rose City Antifa is an active domestic terrorist group.
It's possible.
Okay, I'm reading off of their website.
We gotta put them on trial first, right?
I'm reading off of their website right now. "Quote unquote, education gives our communities the information that they need to recognize and oppose fascism. Fascists often hide their ideas and try to co-opt other movements like environmentalism, anti-capitalism, anti-globalism. Sometimes they may even claim to be feminists. It's important that our community is able to see and understand what fascism is, what gives it power, and how to stop it." We'll actually also just go to their FAQ. Okay, so their FAQ starts off, "What is fascism?" And their response is, well, fascism is a belief system that can be described by a set of traits. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have to have everything on the list, and in fact, most versions in the world won't have everything on the list. We'd say that most versions would be ultranationalist, authoritarian, and xenophobic. We can also say that for sure the danger of fascist organizations poses is real and immediate because violence is essential to achieve their goals. Okay, like what in that like warrants labeling them as domestic terrorists?
I think if I was a terrorist, I wouldn't tell people that. Like, that's bad for getting caught.
Oh, okay. So you think that they're just concealing the fact that they're terrorists. So then how do you know that they're
Well,
terrorists?
yeah, criminals aren't going to admit that they're criminals, right?
So then how
Like,
do you know? Then how do you know that they're
arrested.
terrorists?
Well, we don't know. That's why I was being fair.
Oh,
The argument
wait.
was,
So
are
you're
there
saying that you don't know?
organizations-
So the argument is that you actually don't know, like specifically, like who Donald Trump is defining as a domestic terrorist. Because like you,
No,
you
I
told
do
me.
know.
Oh, then
I do
who?
know.
Then who? Who? Give me a name.
Organizations
what
were
organizations?
calling themselves Antifa,
What? Okay, like Rose City Antifa.
and which you are not a part of any of them. So
Okay,
you are
Richard,
okay, Dean.
you just said that you do know who Donald Trump is labeling as terrorists. I asked you,
Yes.
okay, who is he labeling as terrorists? And then you responded
Organized
by saying
Antifa.
organizations that are calling themselves Antifa. Okay, Rose City Antifa. Are they an organization that are calling themselves Antifa?
Well, they're probably being investigated right now.
Answer my question. Are they an organization that labels themselves as Antifa?
Yes.
Okay, so then following from your logic, you know that they're terrorists.
Well, they're probably being investigated as possible terrorists.
Well, according to your logic, you already know that they are without investigation.
Well, I know that. No, according to my logic, Trump,
Yes, because I asked you, right, if you know who Donald Trump is defining as terrorists, and then you said, I do know, he's defining organizations that label themselves as Antifa, meaning that your logic would implicate Rose City Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, as they are an organization that labels himself as Antifa. Why are you absolutely so lost in the weeds of this like incredibly simple syllogism that you just simply can't track?
I'm tracking it pretty well.
So then admit that your logic would entail that Rose City
My logic
Antifa
entails that
would
they
be a
are
terrorist
possibly being
organization.
investigated because they are an organization. That's
Wait,
my logic.
So what did you say?
It's a pretty
did
fair
you,
logic.
Did you say that you know who Donald Trump is referring to? Or did you say that you possibly know
I know
who
who
might
Donald
be
Trump is
investigated
referring
in
to as
relation
Antifa.
to who it may be referring to?
I know who Donald Trump is referring to as Antifa, and it's not you.
Okay, so if you know who Donald Trump is referring to as these Antifa organizations, once again, I'll ask you, who do you know he's referring to?
Well, I just get. All right, we're going in circles, man. I'm just gonna tell you it's Rose City Antifa, okay? That's
Okay, so then you know that he's referring to Rose City Antifa. Did he call these Antifa organizations domestic terrorists point blank, period?
He called all Antifa, which refers to organizations.
Okay, so then he did call Rose City Antifa domestic terrorists. Do you agree with him?
Well, if there's a lot of cells, I don't think he's naming all of them, right?
Okay,
He's
so
just gonna name like one group.
Okay, well then you don't know who he's calling terrorists because you just said that you know he's calling organizations like Rose City Antifa, right? These Antifa organizations. We just simply track your logic for like 3 seconds. That implies that according to Trump, they're a domestic terrorist organization. But then you want to walk back on that because you know how insane that is. So then it goes back to the grand elusiveness where you can't clearly tell me who Donald Trump is and isn't labeling as domestic terrorists. What are you doing,
'cause he
Richard?
didn't
So you have
read a
told
list
me,
of all the
one second, my
cells.
friend. You have told me that you know who Donald Trump is referring to as a domestic terrorist. All right. If you're still going to die on that hill that you know who Donald Trump is referring to as a domestic terrorist, I need you to tell me who he's referring to since you know it. I feel like that's a fair ask. If you know who he's referring to, tell me who he's referring to.
My answer is like many times. Like, do you just want me to keep naming names of like groups that are known? Like,
Okay,
like,
so
what
then
evidence do you want me
so
to
then
say?
you do agree that you know he is referring to Rose City Antifa.
Rose City Antifa is included in a list that he is
Okay.
describing as Antifa. Yes.
So therefore, you would agree that Donald Trump is calling Rose City Antifa domestic terrorists.
Okay, this is all cats are dogs, and therefore this is not a dog, so it's a cat. Like this is bad logic, being like you're committing a very big logical fallacy.
I'm
That I
actually
am
not committing any logical fallacy whatsoever. This is
Yeah.
third grader shit. You just told me that Rose City Antifa is one of the Antifa organizations that he's referring to, right?
Well, see, Dean, the problem is that you're setting up this conditional,
I
right?
just want a yes or no, right? We're just gonna like observe
Okay.
and reflect on everything that you just said.
Okay,
You
so-
told me that
so
you know that
here's-
Rose City
here's-
Antifa is on the list of the Antifa organizations he's referring to, right, Richard? If you don't answer this question, I'm gonna kick you.
So you're just gonna commit logical fallacy, like.
Well, I'm actually
So
not committing
here's
any
what you're
logical
saying,
fallacy
right?
at all. I'm like proactively trying to demonstrate how I'm actually not committing a logical fallacy, and in fact, the logic that I'm using is that in which third graders are equipped with. Right? It's
Yeah,
super
so
simple
here's
logic,
what you're saying,
and I'm like
right?
proactively trying to demonstrate that logic to you, but you're not even allowing me to proactively demonstrate that logic to you by avoiding my question. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you the question one last time. Richard, I understand that your little brain is breaking because you got fucking caught, but stop being so dense and hard-headed and just answer the question. You told me that you know that Rose City Antifa is one of the Antifa organizations on Donald Trump's list that he's referring to, right?
Yeah, high likelihood.
Okay, perfect. So if you know that he's referring to Rose City Antifa, therefore he thinks that Rose City Antifa are domestic terrorists, right? Because he thinks that
It's
these
highly
Antifa
possible.
organizations are domestic terrorists.
Yeah, highly possible.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. How do you feel about the fact that our president is actively referring to these random organizations where we have no reason to believe that they're domestic terrorists whatsoever, literally just saying that they're against fucking fascism as literal terrorists?
Well, are they being arrested right now?
I don't know. Go ask the DOJ.
Yeah, well, if they're
'Cause
being
you
arrested,
just told me
then
that Donald Trump is
we'd
referring
be
to
having
them
a
as
different
terrorists.
Conversation, right?
So now you're saying that Donald Trump's referring to them as terrorists, but he's not doing anything to them. So then would you agree that from Donald Trump's perspective, he's just letting domestic terrorists roam the streets of America, even though he knows exactly who they are?
I think they're trying to figure out if they're terrorists or not, and they might not be.
But now you're just walking back because I thought that you told me you knew that Donald Trump thinks they're terrorists.
He thinks they're possibly terrorists.
No, not possibly terrorists, that they are. He's never said that these Antifa organizations are possibly domestic terrorists. He's held strong with his convictions that they are terrorists. Not possibly, but that they are.
If he thinks that, and he's also an authoritarian, then they'd be arrested right now, which they're not. So
Okay, so you're telling me that he doesn't think that. So then why is he lying?
he's not lying.
But he put out the tweet on the official White House account on his Truth Social. He had fucking Pam Bondi record a 3-minute propaganda video saying that these Antifa organizations are domestic terrorists. And now your response is to say, well, if he actually thought they were domestic terrorists, they would already be in cuffs, meaning that implies he doesn't think that they're domestic terrorists, right? And if he doesn't think that they're domestic terrorists, right? Well, then why did he say that they were? And
Well,
if you're
if
going to
he's
argue
a
that he didn't say that,
authoritarian
no.
dictator, he'd be
Answer my
arresting
question.
everyone, right?
If he doesn't think that they're domestic terrorists, then why did he say they were?
Well, he wants to investigate them.
You're not answering my question. My question is,
So-
and I quote,
so
if
would
he
you say
doesn't
that
think that
Trump-
they're domestic
Trump can
terrorists
only be
or thinks
right?
that he should probably investigate them, then why did he say that they were domestic terrorists? Can you answer that question? Because he said that they were definitively domestic terrorists, and he continues to do so every day. So if he doesn't think that they're actually domestic terrorists, then why does he continue to call them domestic terrorists?
Well, I think this is just an example of Trump applying due process, so it's a Trump W.
Okay, you're not answering my question.
I am answering your question.
How does that
You can
answer
think
my
somebody's
question?
a terrorist and not immediately arrest them.
Oh, okay. So you'd argue that he actually does think that they're terrorists.
Like, yes. Okay. Yes.
Can we agree that with his
so
messaging?
what's your gotcha now? Yes.
Can you agree that with his messaging, he's been trying to convince as many people as possible to agree with him?
Okay. Yes.
So you agree?
I'm just going to move the conversation forward.
So now that
you are trying
Richard,
to get me on something.
Richard, so now that you agree that Donald Trump thinks that they are terrorists, and now that you've agreed that Donald Trump has been trying to convince everybody that they're terrorists, to agree with him and his convictions, right? This entails that Donald Trump is trying to convince 320 million Americans that these American citizens that haven't had due process, that haven't been investigated, that honestly don't signify anything of terrorism are terrorists. Do you think that this is like incredibly vindictive and harmful as he is now specifically rhetorically targeting so many Americans for just merely disagreeing with him politically by not only labeling them as domestic terrorists, but trying to convince you, me, and everybody else that they're domestic terrorists as well?
Well, see, this logic falls apart when the answer to the premise is no.
Okay, so then you don't think that that's bad.
No, I don't think that how you described his motivation is right. I think you are wrong in your characterization of his beliefs.
Okay, so I'm wrong in my characterization of his believing that they're domestic terrorists. So then
That everyone is automatically a terrorist.
Okay.
Because otherwise they'd be arrested.
Okay, so if I'm wrong, right, well then why did Donald Trump say it?
Well, if you're right, then why is no one arrested?
Okay, so you're saying now if I'm right, why is nobody arrested? Because they're not actually fucking terrorists. You have to have probable cause to arrest somebody for an articulatable crime that they've not fulfilled. The answer to why they're not actually arrested is because they're not actually terrorists.
Okay.
Duh.
Okay.
They haven't actually done anything to break the law.
Yeah. I mean, most of them are not terrorists.
Duh.
I said that. I said most of them aren't terrorists.
So now are you arguing that he's labeling, like, for instance, Rose City Antifa as a terrorist organization, even though Rose City Antifa has not actually done anything to break the law?
Well, I'm saying that they probably got investigated and then they got cleared. That's why they're not arrested.
Okay, but you told me earlier that you knew he was referring to them as terrorists. So why, under your view, is he referring to a cleared group of Antifa of anti-fascist Americans as domestic terrorists?
So by your logic, if he has a rhetoric, he's going to commit, authoritarian action. And you're
not answering my question.
Authoritarian action, so he's not authoritarian.
So you're actually not answering my question here.
I am actually.
No, so the question was, under your view, you think that, for instance, Rose City Antifa have been cleared of any wrongdoing, right? And the DOJ doesn't suspect them of a crime. Well, earlier you told me that he knows that they're terrorists, right? So why would he think and accuse somebody of being a terrorist and try to convince all Americans that they're a terrorist when he knows that they're not actually terrorists because they've been cleared by his DOJ?
So he said something and he was wrong.
Well, he continues to say it every single day. So why does he continue to say it if he knows that he's wrong?
Well, he said something that, no, because you're trying to fearmonger people, right? You started this by saying that he wants to arrest every single person who's anti-fascist.
And Trump.
And now
literally,
we're saying that they're not terrorists, and he's not arresting them.
The only individual here that's trying to fearmonger is Trump, because now we've gotten to the point where you think that Donald Trump knows these people are not terrorists, but he continues to call them terrorists. So answer that question. If he knows they're not terrorists, then why does he continue to call them terrorists?
Is he continuing to do it?
Yes, every single day. Oh my God. Yeah, you haven't been up to date. Go look at the White House account. They put out a 4-minute propaganda video yesterday honing in on the Antifa organizations, calling them domestic terrorists. It's like their whole brand new thing. So if he knows they're not actually terrorists, then why is he calling them terrorists?
Well, we'll find out, right?
Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out why Donald Trump...
It sounds like they're being investigated right now.
Wait, but you told me that they actually already were investigated. They were cleared.
You're saying that if Trump thinks somebody...
We'll find out why he's calling people terrorists when he knows they're not actually terrorists. I can fucking
your logic...
We're going to get that X-Trap supporter up in here. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, what a great way to end that dialogue. Holy fuck, quote unquote, we'll find out. Dude, the US is so cooked. The US is so fucking cooked, dude. That guy was actively arguing in support of Donald Trump on this bit and telling us that he believes Donald Trump knows these people are not terrorists and agreeing that he's continuing to call them terrorists. I'm like, hey man, why is he calling non-terrorists terrorists and trying to convince you and me that they are when he knows they aren't? And obviously the response there is to fearmonger. Obviously, the response there is to identify a false enemy as a unifying cause for his base. Obviously, the response there is to attempt to proactively justify the deployment of the military in cities across this country because they have to have quote-unquote good reason in accordance with the 10th Amendment to prevent a federal judge from restricting their deployments, right? But no, none of those things were obvious to him. From his perspective, we don't know why he's labeling non-terrorists as terrorists, and apparently we'll find out. Get the hell out of here.